is Oromo Voice Radio English program. Oromo Voice Radio is broadcasting to Oromia at 16-meter band or 17,850 kilohertz or on oromovoice.org website. OVR broadcasts Oromia Insight program every Monday for 15 minutes at 7:15 p.m. Oromia local time. Welcome to Oromia Insight program.
Welcome to Oromia Insight. My name is Ali Galato. This is part 2 interview with Dr. Tarreken Chimdi about blood rose.
Actually, land grabbing is a neo-colonialism in its sense, and most of the people in the Food and Agriculture Organization, once Jacques Stuyve mentioned that land grabbing is a neo-colonialism in its making. And actually, the high time for this land grabbing is starts with mostly with the global financial crisis, which is 2008, which is the peak period, and that alarmed actually different countries of their food insecurity, and there are motives from energy needs, mostly from the Western countries. Food insecurity in Gulf states, India and China are actually the basic motives which shaped actually the land grabbing. For example, if we take land grabbing, the main drivers are actually for the governments which are giving land. The main motive is direct investment, financial FDI earnings, and the other thing is actually the agribusiness or large-scale agriculture, still which is tied up with food security, which they call it, but in true sense it is not. And actually, these are the main drivers, so to say. For example, food security, why the Gulf states actually wanted to get land abroad. If we see the 5 years before the global financial crisis, the food imports of the Gulf states increased from 8 billion to 20 billion. Actually, the Gulf states were worried for the political instability and social unrest, and they tried to look into acquisition of large tract of land somewhere to get their own food, to cover their food security. And in the meantime, the government wanted to outsource food from different countries then. And the other thing is, in the meantime, the Chinese government, for example, gave a funding of 5 billion to Chinese corporations which are involved, allocated $5 billion to the corporations which are looking for African agriculture through its Chinese Africa Development Fund. And the same is true with India. India also allocated soft loans to be provided to 80 Indian companies. And this is where it starts from the point of view of Middle East and Asian countries. But when it comes to the European countries, the motive is the energy. The biofuels are mostly needed by European countries, and so they wanted to plant the jatropha plantation, sugarcane, palm oil, castor oil for their biofuel consumption. These are the motives behind that. And the most of the other motive behind this is actually the agribusiness, which was in the agenda of international development agencies such as the World Bank, USAID, and DFID, or European Union Energy Initiative. These are behind actually the land grabbing, the supporter or the funders of land grabbing at some stage within the initiative which is called Foreign Investment Advisory Service, or through International Bank of Recovery and Development. They actually amassed large billions of dollars for this purpose, either with advisory service, and the Ethiopian government also get advisory service from FIAS, which is actually a part of World Bank and IFC. So these are actually the players behind the land grabbing which we see today.
So who is actually in terms of you mentioned about countries and international organizations? What is the actual company in Oromia who actually doing the floor plantation or involving land grab? Can you name a few names of the companies in the organization who actually take part in this?
Yeah, okay, I can mention some of them. For example, there is a company called Yeshua Flowers. For example, it has 20,000 hectares, which it already obtained in 2005. In biofuel, there is some biofuel, which is from UK. There is another one, Flora Ecopower. They already maintain over 25,000 each, 25,000 hectares each in biofuel plantations. There are also others, for example, Karaturi. It took also large tracts of land from Oromia. And surprising enough, there are also others which also got a large tract of land. And I didn't mention, I'm still mentioning people from our side. And for example, the Djibouti president got 25,000 hectares. This is actually agricultural land. And Guled, this is Guled. Guled also got, president of Djibouti got also 13,000 square meter of arable land as well. The other person to mention, for example, Obasanjo of Nigeria, for example, had 40,000 square meter of arable land. And so this is the scrambling which is carried out from different countries, be it Saudi Arabia, Djibouti, India, China, Israel, Netherlands. There are so many of these countries, the companies from these different countries. Actually, the other player from the investors within the country is Midrock. Midrock has got really large tract of land from Oromia and other states as well. And actually, I have few data around. Let me have a look, probably, to see what Midrock had. So these are the type of investors from different countries who had been in the scrambling or in the land grabbing scheme, which is actually for this land grabbing actually experienced by the Ethiopian government. It is no tax or no rent for 5 years. For example, Karaturi seized almost 30,000 hectares of Bakwa district for 15 per acre for 84 years. $15 per acre per year for 84 years.
Wow.
For 5 years, actually, he was not supposed to, he didn't pay the rent for 5 years. Therefore, there is tax exemption, and this is the type of giving land and evicting people. So this is the type of destruction of the livelihood of the Oromos.
I'm just curious because there is a news coming out from Oromia and Ethiopia in general. There are about more than 10 million people actually starved to death. They need food help from abroad. How Ethiopia be able to help like India, Israel, Germany, Netherlands, all these people, but they can't actually help their own people?
Yeah, actually, the government is always, when it gives land to these investors, the government was actually propagating or hollow promises of providing jobs and providing technology transfer and creating infrastructure. But actually, nothing happened in those areas where land was grabbed. Actually, people were put without land grabbing and food insecurity are correlated, so to say. What does that mean? There is no space for farming or grazing, and when the food is exported, for most of these, some of these investors are actually exporting their food products to their host countries. And the land was taken away, food is exported from large agricultural acquisitions. So actually there is no farming space, there is no grazing space. Actually the livelihood of people is already devastated. The government is actually doing nothing for the population which was evicted. They are left with no support and there is none for them. Actually, if there is no, actually, as it propagates, there is no technology transfer, there is no job which is offered to these small farmers, subsistence farmers. That had never been done. So, if people are not farming, if people are not actually getting any means of subsistence, there is no reason why they are not being served. It is irony, actually, to see the self-sufficient Oromia areas or Oromian regions, Oromia regional state. When it's really sad to see the self-sufficient Oromia state to be in such a condition of being people starved. It is really sad to hear and sad to see, but it is the doing of the government policies, and the eviction is which taking place is the precursor for that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tarek Nchimdi. Dr. Tarek Nchimdi is from Deakin University, is Oromo activist, and today we discuss about all things, especially about land grab and who's actually involved. I hope we'll come back to this topic again and see where things actually heading. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ali.